Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another interview on Beyond the Rift. Today, I'm betraying NLC on this one, but it was great pleasure that I get to talk with Prime League Summer Split winner, Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition, jungler Lurox. Welcome to this interview, and thank you so much for accepting. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm doing pretty good.
Obviously, you're doing good. Yesterday, you did an amazing game. We'll talk about that further down the line, but I want to get to know you before we start this one. Do you still recall when you started play League of Legends? Can you take me back to those early days?
I mean, I guess it was in like 2013 when I started playing League. Mainly with a friend, or like with friends that wanted to play with me. And back then it was actually fun to play because we were learning new stuff all the time. But yeah, it became more and more just work over time and less of a hobby.
Okay, and it seems like you're a really aggressive jungler. I've been seeing a lot of your VODs, and you really don't like lanes to breathe. Apparently, is there any jungler you look up to and use as an inspiration for your sort of playstyle?
Not really. Like I'm like the split. I'm mainly just thinking about myself and what I can do with the lanes. Mainly like that's where the aggressiveness comes from. And other than that, like mainly I'm just watching like the best junglers always in like China, Korea and so on. But it's usually like changing every split or every year or so. So it's hard to just have like one jungler you can look up to because who's on the top is always changing.
And you really need to adapt. Jungler is one of those not lane, but one of those roles that you need to adapt constantly, and you need to trust your lanes as well. What sort of teammates do you like to play with? What is the mentality that you like to have in your team as a jungler?
I mean the one we have right now is pretty good. Just always know what you can do in lanes. And like
Yeah.
I mean just to play lanes how you should play them. Like if you have a winning matchup that you're gonna win the lane, and if you have like a losing matchup that you're just gonna give the prio and farm up. Like to just do what should be expected from the champions you have. That's like already good. Because to just have like the consistency and be able to have a plan.
When I was a coach back in the day, I heard the jungler telling me something that was you don't gank losing lanes, you just let them be and you suffer, I'll play for the winning lanes. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah. I mean like 80-90% of the time that's how you should play.
Just
And
forget about them,
you
like
just
let them be.
you just completely split the map. The only problem is when you have too many losing lanes because then you have to go somewhere in the end, and it's a bit of a disaster. And
Tell me something, Lorax. When you look into the team right now, Unicorns of Love, you guys are popping off. You guys are really showing everybody what you're capable of. What do you think is the glue that's keeping Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition so strong right now?
I guess our coach kind of
Okay.
like mainly pushing everyone, having clear goal, and yeah, always having clear goals to work on in scrims and so on, and never just resting, even though we won like 20 games almost in a row. Like always just keep pushing and having something to work on.
It's good when you have that mentality, and it's really important because you're now playing on EU Master Summer Split Group A. I thought it was kind of complicated. You have Giants, Unicorns of Love, Vitality B, and even Zero Tenacity, but you guys showed up yesterday versus Vitality. It was a one-sided game, I would say. You seem to have a grudge versus 80 players, and I'm okay with that. I agree 100% with that. How tough do you think this group actually is for you guys?
I mean, I think we can make it out for sure. Like our main opponent would be Vitality B for the first place. I think the other two we should be able to just beat. But still, like I mean, like thinking about it and looking at the group, it's probably the hardest group we could have actually gotten.
Oh.
Like maybe C10 could have been X7 or something, but other than that, I think we pretty much got the hardest teams from Pool 3 and Pool 4. So yeah, still the hardest group, but I think we can make it out, and we can make it out as first as well without losses
So
if we
if you
keep
get out
playing
of
like we did
group,
yesterday.
no losses, no anything, what is the team you actually want to play against the most when you go to knockouts?
Anyone that's not LDLC.
How can you deal with that? Imagine if it's LDLC. I don't think it's gonna be because if you and then
I mean,
first it's going to be hard, but yeah.
if it's LDLC,
Uh
that
huh.
means they would have been second. So then I would say they're beatable, but I
Mhm.
think they're for sure the strongest opponent you could have. So I would like to just play them in the final and until then play the others.
That would be the good one. That would be the good story for you guys. And this is the question that I want to bring up. LFL, what do you think is the secret to LFL success? How can people look into LFL and say, nah, my ERL is going to be as good as LFL in the future?
I think it's hard.
Hmm.
Like especially for like Prime League, NSC, Ultraliga, I don't think they'll be able to properly catch up. Just because there's like not the same amount of viewership and like just money involved in the leagues. I think AVP probably has the best chances to be somewhat close,
Mm-hmm.
but it seems like LFL is a step ahead right now, and I don't think it will probably won't change for the next year or the year after already. So it will probably take a while. But yeah, I think for everyone outside of LVP, it's probably or SLO, it's probably gonna be a bit hard to catch up.
Okay. And now that we get to know you on your team and your projection for you Masters, I want to get to know you as a player. Obviously, you want to go back to the LEC. I know that is the future you want to do. So, what is the plan currently for you as a jungler? How can you get back to that stage? You have the skill, but what is the next step?
Just to win EU Masters, like just always to just focus on the next game, look what you can do best, prepare as best as possible, and then just try to win the game.
When you
Like
look
the
for
best.
from ERLs and LEC, what is the biggest difference in sort of a play style?
Honestly, I don't think there's that big of a difference.
Oh.
I would say LAC is almost more chaotic and more scaling, because also, I mean, you have to consider that also they play under like way more pressure than the ERLs,
Mm-hmm.
and they always play like in front of way more viewers and on a stage always. So there's just more pressure for them. So just naturally they play like more chaotic and more scaling as well, as you can see with like Yumi first pick all the time, which is like not really a thing in LPL. So yeah, I would say that's the main difference. But other than that, I don't think there's too big of a difference between like top ERL teams and LEC teams.
If you're talking about Yumi specifically, I would like to ask you if you could, if you had the power to ban one champion forever, be removed from the game, which champion would it be?
Karthus.
Which one?
Karthus.
Oh,
I don't like
Karthus,
Karthus.
really?
Yes.
So not Yumi, not Zed, you can deal with those.
Yep, I just don't want Karthus in my games.
Love it. I was not expecting that one. Oh, good job. So, when you're looking back into the LEC and you have a big career in front of you, obviously you were there, but you're down on the top of VRLs as well. What is your fondest memory playing League of Legends? The one that you look back and you're like, oh, I really miss this moment.
Probably winning my first trophy back in 2017, like winter ESLM. Was like my second split as a player,
Mm.
and on like my first real offline tournament, and we were like the underdogs, and then kind of just 2-0'd both teams in semifinal and final and won. So that's probably my fondest memory. And other than that, I would say it's just the LEC events on stage, like in front of like a crowd still before COVID hit. It is also good memories.
When you got to play versus in front of a crowd recently for Prime League, yeah, it was good, wasn't it? Like feeling it back.
It was really insane. Like it was very nice to play in front of a crowd, and I actually really missed it. And after like just 2.5 years of just
Mhm.
always playing online and not having any change, it was a really nice feeling. And especially since the crowd was very favored for us, it was actually really crazy, and it was really loud. Yeah.
Even though you have that white noise and suppression and all that, what do you feel when you're playing in front of a crowd? What is that hype moment? What is the coffee in front of a crowd for you?
Um, I think it's just hearing the crowd, just having to talk louder to just be able to make your team hear you and stuff like that, and just like almost getting lost in like hype moments, hype team fights because just so much noise.
And it's not easy being a player. I've been talking with a lot of players recently, and everybody's talking about same. It's about be willing to sacrifice a lot in order to achieve what you want. But the thing is, there are thousands of other players doing the same, constantly working for the same. How do you manage that in your mind when you wake up and you have to practice and you know there are thousands of players trying to get to your spot and you are trying to get the spot of somebody else?
I mean, it's like that's the case that it is like this, but it's not really something I think about. Like I'm just trying to do what will make me better, what will make me and my team win, and I'm mainly focusing on that. And yeah, I mean the stuff with like the more players is probably something I would think about in the off season. If I'm like in the off season and then no team would be would want me, then I would be like, oh shit. But other than that, I mainly focus just on getting better and winning as a team.
It's good. It's good. And if you could look into yourself as a jungler and identify this is why I stand out as a jungler, what would it be? What is the reason that makes Lurox Lurox?
Oh boy.
Oh.
It's hard to say, because as a jungler, there's just so many things you kind of just have to be good at to even be at a like, high level. So I feel like it's hard to say there's like something specific to make you stand out, because it's like just a lot of things you have to be doing well.
So would you say jungle is the hardest role in League of Legends?
Um, Probably not, but it's more unique than the other roles. Like you just need like different skill sets, bigger jungler than compared to mid lane, top lane, or ADC.
Yeah.
Like those roles are probably more similar. And jungle support and support is probably like the two roles that are more similar again.
Now the easy question for you, Lurox, would be where do you want to go next? What is your future, your dream? Everybody makes that question. Oh, I want to win worlds. I want to obviously you want to do it, but my question to you is there any jungler in the world right now you would like to play against? Slap him in game, just demolish him and type at the end of the game, GG jungle diff.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I guess just Yankas probably,
Oh,
because
okay.
I think he's the best jungler in EU. And usually whenever I played against U2 and like scrims like back with Schalke or even now, it's like always he's just playing really well, and he's always punishing mistakes, and he's always on the map where he's supposed to be. Like you're barely ever like, oh, what is he doing? Because he always like just has a plan and knows what to do. So probably winning against him would be pretty nice.
And shutting up Bianca's would be something else. It's a hard task to begin with. Tell me, what are the other things that you love in your life besides League of Legends? Obviously, it takes a lot of your time, but do you have any sort of hobby or something like that?
Honestly, not really.
Oh boy.
I mean, it's mainly League, and then other than that, I guess in my free time, I'm just like watching YouTube videos, watching TV series if there's like anything interesting, like House of Dragon at the moment, and then wasting time on Reddit or TikTok. Also, also pretty nice. But yeah, other than that, there's not much going on at the moment. Like especially when it's like high stress situations like you masters.
You don't have time to actually think about anything else. It's about playing your masters, world reviews. Can you guide me through a normal day when you are in such a big competition like you masters, where if you fail, it's done. Your entire split, it's done. One mistake. Can you guide me through a day of a player?
I mean, for us, it's like very structured days always. It's always like waking up at 11, then at 11:50 we have our meeting, then at like 12:30 we eat, then at 14:45 we scrim until 20. Then I eat afterwards, and then I play solo queue until like 12 or 1 a.m. And then I chill in bed for like 1-2 hours and rest a bit. And then the whole thing starts again. So it's pretty much that every
Rise
day,
and repeat.
except on like, yeah.
Yeah. Final question for you, Lorox. If you could look back and if you could say anything to your younger self, what would you say?
um,
Pick more Gragas?
Start playing League earlier.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. Because
to
I
get
think
the edge.
if I would have like started tryharding earlier and playing more earlier, then I could have started earlier, like being pro, because I started like with 18, like only after I finished school, which was, I mean, it's a fine timing. I finished school, so I can like study now afterwards. But other than that, could have probably done a bit earlier.
Hey, you're still young, so future, I don't know, you still have a big future ahead of you. I was looking in the back, and it seems like someone just fed, because that's a gray screen, and he kind of took that personally. So thank you so much for this interview. Best of luck for you, Masters, and will I see you at the final?
Yeah.
Yep, it's a deal. Thank you so much for this one, Lurox. See you soon.
Thank you,
Have a
sir.
nice one.
Bye bye.